Welcome to ReSOLT. This is ReSOLT's very own and original study material. My name is Rohan Gomes, and I am the IELTS trainer. So let's understand a little about IELTS, shall we? Okay. So to begin with, what is the IELTS? Well, IELTS is the International English Language Testing Systems. Well, this test is designed to understand an individual's ability, to understand and to speak English. Now, when we speak about IELTS, you are graded on, it's graded on the basis of bands between 1 and 9. So the more bands you score, the better. Okay, so let's understand why do you need to take the IELTS or when do you need to take this test? Well, this test is required to be taken, if you wish to travel or, to a native English speaking country, Western countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and so on. So when we speak of IELTS, you are scored on basis of 1 to 9. Now, if you score anywhere like 5 or 6, that would be very average, where you would be considered as a moderate, as a modest user or a competent user, which means you can understand English, but you're not very good or fluent at it. You would, however, it is always good to score, anywhere from 7 or above. So 7 would be if you score 7 months, you would be known as a good user. 8, you're a very good user. And if you score 9 out of 9, then you would be considered as an expert user. So whenever you give your IELTS, you have to aim for anything 7 and above. So uh, now, based on, we have two different types of IELTS. Now, one is academic and one is general. Now, what is the bands that you need to score? Now, first thing you need to understand is different universities, different countries, have a different requirement of bands. So, as I said earlier, it would be best if you could score anything, 7 or above in the IELTS. Now, when we talk about IELTS Academic, okay, what is the IELTS Academic and who should apply for it? Well, IELTS Academic is required to be, given by those people who wish to pursue their further education. If they want to do their post-graduation course, if they wish to do their masters, law, or anything, like, in terms of clinical research and so on. In the similar way, if you are giving your IELTS general, it would be applied to those individuals, who wish to pursue their education, but below a degree level. Apart from that, it is also applied. You can also give this test if you wish to work abroad, on a temporary or a permanent basis, or if you are trying to get a PR, permanent residency, in one of the native English speaking countries. Now, when you give the IELTS, you have to remember that there are two types of tests. One is, paper-based, and the other one which is computer-based. So, if you are, pretty used to writing and your writing is good, I would recommend that you could give the paper-based test. If you are, if you have a good typing speed and you feel that you're good, with your typing skills, then you can definitely go ahead and give the computer-based test. Now, to begin with, the first test, which is listening module. Now, when we speak about IELTS, there are four different kinds of tests. One is the speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So now, when we speak about the listening module, you will be given four different kinds of recordings. So you'll have four audios. Now, the audios can be anything, right from a conversation between two people, in everyday context, or it can be a monologue set, in terms of speech, or it can be a conversation between four different people, and it can be in the form of, a university tutor or a student discussing an assignment. And the fourth recording can be, a monologue again on a subject, like a university lecture. Now, in the IELTS paper format, what happens is you have to give, you have to listen to the audio very carefully, and there will be a set of 40 questions, and you have to be very careful of what you write, because you will be penalized if you make spelling mistakes, or if you have any kind of errors, like not more than a word, not more than two words, when you write the answer, or not more than three words. So you have to pay attention to the details, you have to pay attention to the audio of what you are required to do. Now, when we speak about the audio, the audio is approximately for like, 20 to 20 minutes, or it can last up to 30 minutes. You will get an additional time of 10 minutes, to transfer the answers to the answer sheet. Okay, you would be asked a variety of questions, and you have to just listen carefully and answer to the audio. And for each answer that you correct, that you score correct, you get 1 mark. Like, this is the example, like, for if you hear an audio, this is what the questions would be like. Let's say in the audio, or speakers speaking to another person about the street. So Bridge Street is given as an example. Then in the in the audio, they may ask, what is the street number, and then the other person speaking to him will speak about what is the address to that location. So you have to answer the questions accurately. In the similar fashion, answer the other questions, which is just given in the form of an example. Okay, so these would be the answers. Now, moving on to the next one. Now, when we speak about the IELTS Academic, now you have to understand that in academic, it is for a total of 1 hour, that is 60 minutes. There will be three passages. Okay, and in these three passages, there's going to be a set of 40 questions. You have to complete each text, the passage which is given to you, within 20 minutes. Okay. Now it can be in any type. It can be. Usually when we give the academic, the topic is more towards, science or history, relating, to the academic style. Now, whenever you give your IELTS in terms of general, it is more easier, and it is usually, some information about journals, or, it's some articles or passages taken from journals, magazines, or newspaper. So in both, the IELTS academic and, in general, you do receive 40 questions, both which is for 1 hour, 60 minutes. Okay. Now you will have to read up the passage carefully, and then you have to answer the questions. Okay. Now it is quite simple, but you just have to ensure that you have to complete the given task under the specific time frame. Okay, so the topics can vary, from academic to general. The topics are completely different. As I said earlier, in terms of academic, it can be anything from relating to science, or it can be anything related to history. Whereas in general, it can be something as basic as workplace survival, social survival, general reading. So, in terms of an argumentative text, it can be from a newspaper or magazines, fictional and non-fictional books. So this is just an example. Like, you can consider this as one passage, and then on the right we have questions. Like, we have different set of questions. You should be able to understand in which passage is the answer given. So just as a set of an example, this is the answer. So to the first question, the answer is paragraph B, and to the third, the answer is paragraph A. Then moving on to the academic writing. Now, when we come to writing, again, you are given two tasks, task one and task two. In task one for academic, you will be required, to describe, a graph or a table chart or diagram, and you should be able to, summarize whatever diagram is presented in front of you in 150 words. Okay, and for this, you only receive 20 minutes to complete this task. Okay, whereas in for academic task two, you are required to write, an essay. Now, an essay can be in the form of do you agree or do you disagree? What are the advantages and disadvantages, or pros and cons, or just a generic topic to understand your views and opinion. Now, in this, you are required to write, an essay for about 250 words. And for this task, you receive 40 minutes to complete the task. So, keeping in mind about the time frame, you have to ensure that for both the tasks, you complete it within an hour. Now, this is an example for the academic writing task. Now, as you can see in the presentation, there's a pie chart. Now, the pie chart, is about the amount of money that a children's charity located in the USA spent and received in 1 year, which is in the year 2016. So now, as you can see in the first pie chart, they have shown, the donated food, which is 86.6, and in the which is the revenue sources, and in the other pie chart, you can see the expenditures, which is for program services. So now, what you are required to do is you should have the ability to describe both the chart, whatever you can see in it and whatever the breakup is, you have to put it in the best way possible. So keep in mind when you are writing, you have to ensure about your punctuations, your spellings, and your grammar should be in place. You shouldn't make any grammatical errors. So there are a set of things which are required, when you do this task. Now, speaking about the academic writing task one, this is the example of how you have to write. Like the pie chart shows the amount of revenue and expenditures in 2016 for a children's charity in the US. So in this form, you are required to write a 150 word, description of the chart. Then moving ahead, in terms of general writing, again, just like the academic, even in general, there's two tasks, task one and task two, which is for 60 minutes. However, in academic, as you saw, you have to describe a diagram or a pie chart or a bar graph. But in general, you will have to write a letter. Okay, now the letter can be of two types. One is formal or semi-formal in nature. And in the second, you would be required to write an essay. Now, the essay is similar to that of academic, where you have to write a 250 word essay, which can be in the form of pros and cons, or do you agree or disagree, and so on. All right. Now, moving ahead. So let's say, in task one, as an example, you ordered an item from an online store and it has arrived damaged. So write a letter to the retailer to complain. Now, in the letter, you will have to explain why you are unhappy. You are requesting for a refund and make arrangements to return the damaged item. So, keeping these questions in mind, what they are asking you to cover, you should write a letter which should not be anything less than 150 words. So, this is the sample answer, of how a letter should be written. Okay. Now, moving on further. Now, writing task two. Now, as I said, for this task, you get 40 minutes because you have to write an essay for 250 words. So, for an example, air traffic is increasingly leading to more noise, pollution, and airport construction. One reason for this is the growth in low cost passenger flights, often to holiday destinations. Some people say that the government should try to reduce air traffic by taxing it more heavily. So, do you agree or do you disagree with the statement? So, now based on do you agree or disagree, you have to write a 250 word essay. Now, this would be a sample answer of 250 words of how you're supposed to write the essay. So in the essay, there has to be, a systematic opening, then the main body, and then of course there has to be a conclusion, the closing. Moving on. Now, in terms of speaking, now in speaking both for general and academic, the speaking can last anywhere between 11 to 14 minutes. It will be split in three parts. Okay. Now, in the first part, the examiner is just going to ask you questions about yourself. Okay, things relating to your life. For instance, your family, your hobbies, or what you're working, or where are you studying. Something very personal to you, which would be approximately for 4 to 5 minutes. Once that is done, the part two would consist of a cue card topic. Now, cue card topic is where you would be given, a topic where, let's say, describe confidence or what is stress. And then, based on what the cue card topic is, you will be given 1 minute to think over it. And then you should have the ability to express anywhere between 1.5 to 2 minutes. Now, over here, they will be gauging you for, your thought flow. How are you able to express yourself? Do you make grammatical errors? Are you confident or not? Do you have a flat pitch or are you able to intonate your voice? So there are various parameters where they will be grading you based on what you speak. Now, once the QCAR topic is done, they will move then to part three. Now, in part three, they will just ask you further questions, but about the part two, based on what you spoke, or they can ask you questions about something which is not really pertaining to your life, like in part one. So, total, when you speak about all these three parts, it could go from anywhere between 7 to 14. Now, as I said, the speaking format is for 11 to 14 minutes, and apart from that, in part one, just to give you in form of an example, like what kind of flowers and plants grow near where you live. Okay, so you have to elaborate yourself. So, or a question could be something as simple as, does your name have any special meaning? Or what sort of food do you like eating most and why? So these are some very generic questions. You should have the ability to be expressive in front of the examiner. And in the part two, as I said, you be receiving the QCAP topic. So this is a QCAP topic. Describe a website you use that helps you a lot in your work or studies. So what you're required to cover. So these are the sub questions. What the website is, how often you use the website, and what information the website gives you. And explain, would you change, how your work or studies would change if this website didn't exist. So now this is your QCAP topic. You would be given a minute where you would have to think and then start speaking, and you should have the ability to speak up to 2 minutes. And in the part three, they may ask, based on the discussion, the topic that we discussed, the internet. So, why do some people find the internet addictive? Or what would the world be like without the internet? Or do you think that the way people use the internet may change in the future? So, these are, some questions which they may ask you, on the part three, on based on what you spoke in part two. So just to give you a breakup, so this is how the test goes about. So when you give the spoken test would be conducted on a specific day, which would just be for around 14 minutes, as I said earlier. Then on another day, you would have to give the other three tests, which is listening, reading, and writing. So on this day, the test would last for a total of 2.5 hours because the writing, task one and task two, would be for 60 minutes. Then again, for reading, where you receive three passages, which would again be for 60 minutes, so 60 and 60, 2 hours. And then again, listening, which can last anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. So almost 2.5 hours. So this is how. So to pass the IELTS, you require a lot of practice and training. So if you guys have any questions, you could reach us at this address. All right. So thank you guys. Have a good day.